What is going on out there, Mountaineer Hoops fans? West Virginia and Coach Bob Huggins wasted no time replacing Larry Harrison on the staff. My name is Couz.
And my name is Mountaineer Paul.
We present to you
Hoops from the Hills. Let's go.
What is going on, everybody? This is Hoops from the Hills, your go-to channel for West Virginia Mountaineer basketball. That's right. Coach Bob Huggins and his staff and Ren Baker did not waste any time finding a replacement for former associate head coach Larry Harrison, who was just let go a few days ago. They've already found his replacement. His name, DerMarr Johnson. Before we get into that, guys, and give you our opinion on this hire, I ask that you please subscribe to us here at Hoops from the Hills. We're working really hard to try to bring you guys plenty of West Virginia Mountaineer hoops content. We need your support, so please like the video for us. If you like it, please share it with your friends. Please drop a comment below. Let us know what you think about this hire for Coach Huggins. And don't forget to subscribe. Paul, let's dig in, man. What are your thoughts on this hire of DerMarr Johnson?
This is a man that is much younger than Coach Harrison. Several years younger, actually, 42 years old. So it's good that they got younger at a coaching spot.
They may just me.
Also, it matters the age of the coach these days. These players need somebody on their level to relate to. Not only that, he's already had the success story that they're looking to have, and he can give them the blueprint. And he comes at it from what probably less people did what he did than are in the NBA, and that is being the number one high school basketball player in America, and that he was at one point in time. Mm-hmm. So he knows what it's like to be number one. He knows what it's like to go through your college experience and play for Coach Huggins.
Yep.
And he knows how to get to the NBA. Not to mention the highly successful teams they had at Cincinnati during his time there. And he knows how to stay in the league for a long time. You know, he was in the league longer than most, almost a decade, just a couple years shy of that. And was a serviceable player and even a starter at times in his career. So he had the full experience and a better experience as a basketball player than most anybody usually does. So he's really a great hire. Now, on the coaching side of things, there are still a little bit to be proven, right? He obviously hasn't sat at the end of the bench as a head coach that we know of anywhere. But he's certainly been an assistant for a few years now, starting out as a GA. And you wonder, where's his foothold at? And the talk out there is that he is a Washington, D.C. guy. Mm-hmm. And that is where his recruiting base would be, where he'd be really good at. That's a really good place to be. Some of the best high school recruits in America and some of the best high school prep schools in America are in that area. So much upside to this hire. He's young. There are more ways it can go right than it can go wrong.
Absolutely. Now, his background at Cincinnati, he was not really, I guess, an on-the-court coach, you call it. He was a player development guy. But in that role, that means he has to build relationships with the players, right? And I think he was also responsible for building relationships with former players at Cincinnati as well. So he knows how to connect with these young men. And I think that's really what's important, especially in today's time with the transfer portal and all that. Like you said, he'll be able to help. He'll be able to show them what to do to get in the league. He knows how to play for Coach Huggins. He can guide them along that path too, help them there. He can just be an ear for these young men, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody that's closer to their age, somebody that has been there, done that, and I mean, he's everything they are doing and want to do. He's already done it. How is that not a huge advantage, in my opinion? And then, like the DC recruiting's big. So, my opinion, home run hire, at least on paper. I was totally shocked that it happened this quick. It makes me think that maybe Huggins already had his plan in place before they made the move, that he already knew who he wanted, or at least maybe he knew, you know, if something ever happens with my staff, I know who I want. I don't know. But as fast as it happened, he had to have already known who he was going to replace him with, or at least had an idea. Pretty big deal to be able to pull him away from his alma mater of Cincinnati, but no, it's still a vertical move because he's actually going to be an assistant coach now versus just a player development guy.
Right.
So, he's going to be coaching with Bob Huggins, a guy who played for in the past. And they're, from what I understand, they're really close. Huggins told a story in a recent interview where, Johnson was involved in a really bad car accident during his playing time in the pros. And he and Kenyon Martin went together to visit, he calls him DJ, to visit DJ in the hospital. So that shows you how much he means to him and how close they are. So, I mean, to me, there's a lot more positives than negatives with this move.
I absolutely agree. And like you pointed out, if from his standpoint, why would you leave your alma mater? Well, first of all, you're not going to, there's nowhere to move up right now. That bench is full at Cincinnati. So there's a spot on the West Virginia staff, right? And the only way to move up on this staff is up. There are a couple other young coaches on this staff, and who's to say that you can't show that you're better than they are? I mean, I'm sure there's competition on every staff. Who can recruit who can do this or that? Maybe they even bet on the side on certain calls that are being made. I like to think about that kind of stuff. So,
yeah.
But anyway, he had, and Bob Huggins is the kind of guy I would imagine people want to please or impress, especially if he was your college coach. I'm sure he's going to come at this with his everything, man. And just really excited to see what he's going to do, and maybe he can start this thing off with a bang and help us land that 5-star kid that was just recently tweeting out about us and has been involved with us so heavily.
Absolutely. Maybe there's some star players he was looking at Cincinnati that he can flip over to West Virginia. We'll see. It'll be interesting to see how it pans out. But
that's an interesting thing to think about.
On paper, I like the hire. Obviously, we got to see how it plays out on the court. I mean, he's almost ready to start. I mean, they've got to get through all the red tape, the paperwork, and all that, and get all that behind them. But they said as soon as they get all that done, he'll be ready to start. So, to me, this is almost unprecedented to fire and hire a coach right in the middle of the season like this, and for him to actually start and come on board right now. I figured they would just kind of keep rolling with the guys they have and maybe give Alex Ruoff an interim role, but no, apparently this is a long-term move here, at least the way I see it. And interesting comment by Ren Baker in the interview he did on the Country Roads Trust channel with Amanda Maisie. They asked him about it, and I'm sorry, we're going to scratch that too. I think it was an interview with 365 Sports. Anyway, in a recent interview that Ren Baker did,
365.
In a recent interview that Ren Baker did with 365 Sports, they asked him about the move of letting Coach Harrison go, and he basically said that, the program was not heading in the right direction and that they needed a change. And so, it sounds to me like this could have been an on-the-court issue. Maybe they weren't happy with Harrison's role and whatever he was doing. Now, it would have been nice had somebody from the program said that instead of leaving us all to speculate. And, that's one – they talk about all these rumors that get started. You could stop that by coming out in the beginning and telling us why he's being fired and squash all that crap before it gets started. But for whatever reason, Bob Huggins decided not to say anything about it and explain anything or even answer questions about it. So very puzzling.
Well, we're used to that.
Yeah, it's very puzzling how
with both coaches.
It is, and it's to me, I'm not saying they owe us an explanation, but I think it would definitely help in squelling all the rumors and speculation out there, and and some of it does not look good. Some of it is making Larry Harrison look bad as well. And you can squell all that by just coming out up front and saying what happened and getting it out there in the open.
And talking about Coach Harrison, his exact word was unforeseen, right?
Yes.
This was an unforeseen instance. So if you don't see something coming, that means you're blindsided, right? If you're blindsided, mostly you're going to resent whatever happened in that situation for the most part. So sounds to me like this just happened suddenly. Now, maybe there was some writing on the wall and it wasn't a surprise to him, but we don't know that. All we have is what's been said by Mr. Baker and also by Coach Harrison, in a statement that he left this morning.
And I'm going to share that statement right now. I've got it up on the screen. I'm going to share it with everybody who may not have seen it. I know a lot of people may not have Twitter, so they may not have seen this statement. But here's the statement Larry Harrison put out. It says, "Thank you to the numerous players, boosters, media, alumni, coaches, friends, and fans that have reached out to me over these past days. I wish I had an explanation to share with you in regards to my unforeseen dismissal, but I do not. However, I can assure you that I am not the subject of any NCAA, criminal, or other investigations or violations," which, by the way, I had heard that. I read the university, well, not violations, but I had heard there was some shady things going on. I read the university's statement that the decision was made in the best interest of Mountaineer basketball. I can only assume that some important people believe that to be true. That's a telling statement right there. And he goes on basically to talk. I'm not going to read the whole thing. He goes on basically to talk about his loyalty, friendship, some of his biggest moments at West Virginia, and that kind of thing. Nowhere in there did he thank Coach Huggins, which I find a little bit. Sometimes you can tell more by what they don't say than what they do say.
Yep.
So I'm a firm believer that this was a Bob Huggins decision, regardless of what might be out there to the contrary. And I think Ren Baker supported the decision. That's what I think.
Here's something that I haven't heard brought up a whole lot, and maybe I've missed it. Maybe somebody has mentioned this. How long has he been an assistant with Bob Huggins?
24 years.
Why hasn't he got another job? Why hasn't he moved up vertically in those 24 years?
Right.
Is that not an indictment in and of itself? Now, it could mean that he was cushy. He liked the job he was at. But does that not signal to complacency if that's the case? Either way, not a great look for somebody. When you're a coach at the collegiate level or the NFL level or any really, these are the best at what they do. And you want somebody that is driven, extraordinarily driven to do these jobs. And unfortunately, coaches do get complacent in their roles and things start to slip. That includes scouting, recruiting, the whole bit. It becomes a job just like anything else. And not blaming Coach Harrison for all of or anything, but certainly we know, because Bob Huggins has said so out loud recently, that Larry Harrison he's taken his word for recruits without even watching them play. Now, am I going to say that obviously butts on Bob Huggins for not watching them play, but apparently that relationship worked for a while, based on some of the players we've had come through here, I would say it definitely did. So at some point that's probably one thing that stopped working, and maybe he wasn't adjusting to this portal era. You can speculate for days about it, but at the end of the day, the fact that he hadn't moved up in 24 years or been brought to another staff or something, which I know he had moved once or twice, but overall he was with Hugs in Cincinnati. There might have been a little bit of time between, and then he was with him at West Virginia for a long time, both times.
Mm-hmm. Right.
It's just telling to me that he didn't have any notable other jobs that I know about.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. I understand. Great point. But back to DerMarr Johnson. I mean, obviously Harrison's gone now. Very weird how that whole thing went down. Johnson's coming in, going to bring a fresh set of eyes, which I think is hugely needed. Going to bring a fresh set of ideas, which I think is hugely needed. A fresh perspective, and hopefully some new ideas and fresh way of doing things that maybe Coach Huggins has not even thought about. And I just think it's a breath of fresh air to the basketball program.
Sure.
I'm really excited about it. And maybe we'll see if we could see some immediate impact of this. It'll be interesting to see how the team plays these next few games to see if it has any immediate impact. And, hopefully it does. Paul, before we jump off here, man, is there anything you want to say?
No. I thought it was interesting that Coach called and talked to Joe Mazzulla about all this.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, he did.
That was interesting.
Yeah.
Thought that was, if you don't know, Bob Huggins talked to Joe Mazzulla, and it seems like maybe he was trying to seek his advice or as a fellow coach that is coaching at an even higher level bounce some things off of Joe Mazzulla, who was a coach on the court for the Mountaineers at one point in time. Thought that was an interesting tidbit to all this.
I did too, and I couldn't help but wonder in the back of my mind. I'm hoping he was asking him to be his coaching waiting. But I have,
and maybe he did.
Who knows? But I have a feeling. You never know. You never know. It's possible.
Maybe that's what part of that conversation was about. Hey, if I ever hang this up, would you? If it doesn't work for you in Boston, hey.
because he wants to leave the program in good hands.
Well, he's and he's at a point in his career now where now that he's coached the Celtics and it's been so successful, he's like somebody Duke or UNC or anybody would hire him. He's that noteworthy.
And there will be other NBA teams wanting him as well.
Yeah.
If the Celtics don't hire him full time.
You can find me at Mountaineer Paul Talks Football. You can find Couz at Couz's Corner. Please hit our football channels up as well, guys, especially Couz. He is trying to get to 5,000 subscribers. Because he does so much West Virginia content for us and for you guys.
Thank you for that, Paul. Yeah, Paul's my goal is to get to 5,000. Paul's getting close to 1,000. But I've been doing this a lot longer than he has, so that's not an indictment on him at all. But we both got goals we're trying to hit, so help us get there, folks. But also we're trying to get this channel here. If you like West Virginia Mountaineer basketball, and we every once in a while we'll branch out and cover something else Big 12 related. But if you like that, please hit that subscribe button. Help us get to 1,000 here on this channel as well. And we can just continue to bring you the best Mountaineer content, or at least the most Mountaineer content out there. And by the way, guys, I got to give a shout out to Jordan Cruz over at Country Roads Webcast. He actually did a video on this already, talking about the hire of DerMarr Johnson. So go check that channel. Go check that video out and that channel out as well. Country Roads Webcast doing a lot of great stuff over there, guys. So go check it out. We appreciate you guys for your support, for tuning in to all of our shenanigans and all of our videos. And until the next time, we are out.